Maharashtra Motors has been punished, you'd have to say. Markets not being charitable at all, though you could argue, someone could counter-argue more or less in line when you're 20-30 crores short on the profitability front. But that stock has skid off. There's profit taking on Tata Steel as well. We'll come to Tata Steel in a bit. But right now, as Anuj was also pointing out, that Aurobindo is the stock in focus. It's going to be coming out with numbers, of course. And the stock is surging before we get that print. So let's bring in Ekta to understand how the expectations stack up. Ekta, tell us more.
Well, for Aurobindo this quarter, the revenue growth is expected to be up around 9% Margins should probably be at the same levels as last year, so 20 to 21%, and a profit growth of around 15 to 16%. Now, one of the key things to watch out for would definitely be the recovery in the US business, because the injectables business especially was hit because of lesser hospitalizations on account of COVID-19. Last quarter, we saw the injectables business rise around 25% on a Q-on-Q basis, so whether that trend continues. Separately, growth markets have been done very well for Aurobindo along with their anti-AIDS segment. The anti-AIDS segment was up around 100% in Q2 on a year-on-year basis, so that too would be something that the street would watch out for. Separately, commentary is going to be critical for Aurobindo because the street will want to know more details with regards to the PLI scheme, the regulatory issues which continue to be an overhang, as well as what exactly the plans are with regards to the sale of the US unit Natrol for around $550 million. So these are a couple of pointers to watch out for. Overall, stock is already up around 90% from March lows, trading at around 16 to 70 times 1 year forward.
Okay, all right, Ekta, got that. Thanks very much. So that's Aurobindo in focus. Prakash, your thoughts? Where does it stand in your pecking order when it comes to pharma?
No, so it's been a great performer in especially the past 1 year, Zarbeen, undoubtedly. But I would want to hear the management's comment in terms of the growth ahead, and then kind of put my money. For the simple reason that we are a bit spoiled for choice in the pharma space. I mean, you have one side, you have the API new age businesses that are kind of getting completely lapped up by the street. Because there are not many that people have in the portfolio. And then you have the likes of Suven, which continue to deepen the kind of work that they've done, and today's numbers just go on to reinforce that. And then of course you have the likes of Torrent, boring businesses, have had some sort of setbacks, but a great pedigree, great balance sheet. To be honest, there's too much of choice, and that's why probably Aurobindo I'd wait for. If you ask me this tomorrow, I'll probably be able to have a more convincing answer.
Okay, Prakash, we will let you go on that note. Thanks a lot for joining us. That's the word from Prakash Diwan. Before we invite our next guest, let's just hear out one more management. Tata Steel's third quarter numbers were ahead of the estimates. But today you've seen some kind of profit taking, though the stock's off the lowest point of the day. But 687 is what we have on the screen right now. We caught up with company's MD and CEO TV Narendran to get his thoughts on the way forward. Let's hear out his views.
I think overall we expect prices or realization for Tata Steel in Q4 to be higher than Q3 by maybe about 6,000 to 7,000 rupees a ton. Also because a lot of our higher priced export orders will be shipped out this quarter. We got some benefits from the government in Q1 and Q2, and we also got some benefits from the sale of carbon credits in Q1. We've had to buy back those carbon credits because that was, more to manage cash better. So those are the one-offs that have hit us in Q3. Carbon credits have cost us, I think, about 40-50 million euros, and the government subsidies that we didn't get or we had to reverse has cost us another 40-50 million euros. So that's a swing. So if not for that, we would have been positive EBITDA. Reported positive EBITDA as well in Q3, and of course Q4 we expect Q4 to be better.
Okay, that was Tata Steel. By the way, the market once again dipped below 15,000 and has once again bounced back. So it's trying to defend 15,000. Like we discussed at the start, this is going to be very important last 1 hour to see if the Nifty is defending 15,000 or not. Just a couple of stocks which are seeing a bit of a decline. Kotak Mahindra Bank, Axis Bank, HDFC Bank. The bank Nifty has taken a bit of a hit. Eicher Motors, of course, has taken a bigger hit. It was clear the way the numbers came out, and the market positioning. Some of these auto stocks have rallied a lot, and not just for these quarters' numbers. I think the market's concern would be if raw material costs are going up like this, do they have the levers to sort of compensate? And that perhaps is the reason that you're seeing the stock trade at low point of the day. Harish Krishnan is joining us now, Executive Vice President and Senior Equities Fund Manager at Kotak Mutual Fund. Harish, good afternoon. I know you won't talk stocks, but Eicher Motors right now is seeing quite a bit of reaction on this margin front and this raw material cost going up. Do you think that could be a bit of a concern now going forward for the automobile sector?
Good afternoon, Anuj. So clearly, there has been an increase in cost across the board as far as commodities is concerned, both soft commodities in the agri side as well as on the industrial metals. And therefore, there is going to be, but in a few of these cases, I would think that the room for price increases are also quite large, especially when it comes to, super premium or on the luxury side for the companies that you mentioned. Yes, there may be a 1-2 quarter kind of an impact, but do these companies have levers to take it? I would imagine they would, especially when it comes to the premium end of the consumer discretionary. But when it comes to the more, the popular or the executive end of the consumer discretionary, I would think that the room for price increases is much less compared, and therefore they may face a larger brunt of commodity price inflation.
Okay. Harish, afternoon. So I'm going to stick with the consumer and let's move to the other end of the spectrum. Today, companies like TDK Prestige or even a Page Industries, they're telling us that the consumer is fired up. Top line growth itself is looking good for several of these companies. How else are you looking at playing the consumer story for this year?
Sure, Sonia. So clearly there is going to be an increase in terms of consumer spending, primarily given the fact that, last year we saw outages and supply issuances. The second aspect is even prior to COVID, we have seen significant disruptions as far as a lot of distribution-based consumer discretionary is concerned. Where there is a wholesaler, there is a middle layer, and then the retailer. And therefore, inventory had come off quite meaningfully if you look at over the last 2-3 years. And therefore, when there is a sudden demand revival, generally the trade stocks up the better brands which will tend to get sold faster and which will also have higher profit margin. And which is where we've seen, better managed brands, which are at the forefront, which are leading market share. Actually, they have seen the largest increase in wholesale volume growth, which is what the companies report. And over a period of time, we will see the consumer retail kind of, meeting up to that demand. So we are playing it across a whole of consumer discretionary. Our particular preference at this point of time is to look at the opening up trade. So as and when schools start up, as and when vaccinations continue, we will start seeing travel, entertainment, tourism, schooling, education, healthcare, across a suite of industries, things opening up. And that is where we are positioned across footwear companies, be it in terms of tourism companies in our portfolio, or even in terms of the spirits space, which have all got impacted because of the close down of bars and restaurants. So that's broadly the spectrum that we are playing as far as the consumer discretionary is concerned.
Okay, since we discussed, the rise in commodity prices and its impact on the auto stocks, what about commodity stocks themselves, Harish? Today, of course, Tata Steel has been very interesting because it had run up a lot already ahead of the numbers. But do you think it's still not too late to participate in this metal cycle?
With a caveat to that, generally, we are more confident of domestic businesses where the dynamics and price setting is governed by the domestic factor. Global cyclicals is a space, where a lot of price setting is driven by what happens in China. So now what we have seen globally is 2 or 3 key factors playing out. First is that given that services have stopped everywhere, a large amount of fiscal stimulus and checks that have gone to various households are manifesting itself in terms of goods that are being consumed. And that goods are invariably more commodity heavy than services, which means that there has definitely been over the last 6 months a spike in goods consumption, and that may last under 6 or maybe under 12 months before all the services like eating out, tourism, entertainment, etc. open out, even in the Western world. So therefore, there is a small mismatch where there is going to be a greater consumption of commodities. Whether that will translate beyond those 12, 18 months is, I think, the key question mark for any purchases at these levels, I would imagine, for most of these global commodity names. The good thing is, I think it's a welcome move for overall India Inc., wherein these price increases have come and there has been massive deleveraging that has happened across the board for corporate India. And that sets a very important context as we look at the next 2-3 years, wherein companies can re-leverage and bring back earnings, especially when interest rates are reasonably low.
Speaking of interest rates, let's pull up some bank stocks which are exerting downside pressure today. HDFC Bank is definitely one of them. Stock is at the low of the day, 2.5% on the downside. SBI has been on the red side of the screen as well today. And these are the big drags if you're looking at the Bank Nifty or actually, I mean, overall, the Nifty itself. Harish, I know that, of course, you have some of the top private sector names in your portfolios, but I also did spot SBI, I think, in your focused equity fund. SBI did this brilliant performance, I mean, completely taking the market by pleasant surprise. So incrementally from here, is there more money to be made in private sector banks or in large PSUs?
Our preference has been more to play a structural trend rather than a cyclical trend. So clearly, I think we've also been surprised by the extent of the resilience of the banks. Their balance sheets have been less impacted by COVID than what we had started out to imagine when COVID struck us, sometime around the same time last year. Also, I think it is important to realize that, while staying in India, our focus is only about India and how banks are doing so well, etc., and how earnings are rebounding. It is important, I think, to also look at what is happening across the world. Across the world, if you read literature, it says that earnings have beaten expectations by a record.
Okay, I think we've lost that line with Harish, and actually we didn't have great luck with Harish connecting with him in the first place. This was supposed to be a video link, but even the phone line has snapped now. So Harish, if you can hear us, thanks a lot for joining us. We look forward to perhaps another conversation at some point, over the next few weeks. We need to take a break with the news that the market has done this second time now. It's gone to 15,000 and immediately bounced back. And it will be interesting to see if this time it's a more durable bounce, because it's sort of, again seen a sharp bounce back to 15,075 from 15,000. D Street chatter on the other side of this break.
And then, of course, trading calls for the last half an hour coming up with Mitesh as well.